Hey Graham, welcome to the MasterCard Cup. Just want to give you an opportunity here to view your swing at regular speed. We'll let that play on through. We'll put you back in your address position, and we'll go ahead and take a look at a few things for you. So while we got you back here in your address position, let's first of all just take a look at your posture. So your spine's reasonably straight, on too much of a tilt. Your legs come down into a really nicely unlocked position. You do hold your arms considerably far out in front of you, and then the club works out to the ball. So ultimately you're standing definitely too far away from the golf ball. So if I were going to work on your golf game, what we would do here is we would just basically get you to stand a little taller with your spine. We'd keep your legs exactly unlocked as they are, not make any changes there. We then get your arms to hang down more naturally so your hands are closer to your thighs, then let the golf club work out to the ball. And like I said, it's going to position you a little closer to the ball. So you're going to be taller, hands closer to your thighs, and obviously standing a little closer to the golf ball. From here, we can take a look at your alignment. Your alignment looks pretty decent with your feet. We can see here that your feet are running in this direction. Carry that out towards the fairway. Theoretically, club face is supposed to run parallel to the feet. Parallel lines on camera would have an appearance to converge. And with that philosophy in mind, you're set up pretty much right down the center of the fairway, so that looks superb. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that your upper body looks more open to your lower body. So you might have your lower body going here, and your knees might be falling the same direction, and your hips might be falling the same direction. But see how we can see your left arm underneath your right arm? We shouldn't be able to see that. And that tells me that your forearms are going a little bit more left of your feet, as are your shoulders. So when the arms and the shoulders are open, when they're stacked open to your lower body, it's probably going to influence an outside to inside swing path at some point in time. We're going to then leave the face open, and we're going to produce many fades or slices. And we'll get a chance to look at this in just a few minutes here. So let's go ahead and do a split screen comparison between you and Jordan Spieth. I got some color-coded lines here up on the screen just to use as a visual reference as it pertains to swing plane. So as we take a look at the left side of the screen here, we can see that Jordan initiates his takeaway by creating good shoulder rotation, drawing his arms and hands back as well as his club. We also want to see the club coming back along the red line on plane. Also, during the early stages of the golf swing, we need to create some good wrist hinge into play where we're going to transition the club head from being below and in front of our hands so that that club head gets above and behind our hands. And then we're going to work the club from red up towards the blue-yellow V zone. And when we finally set the club at the top of the backswing, we either want to have the left arm in the golf club situated on the yellow line, in between the blue-yellow V zone, or physically up on blue. We also want to create full shoulder rotation, and we want to do this about a very stable right leg. So with you as you initiate your takeaway here, draw your hands outside, taking the shaft of the club and the club head outside of the ball. So one of the things you want to do as soon as you initiate your takeaway, don't be afraid to let your hands and your club move a little bit more inside and around your body. At the end of the day, the golf swing is it functions on an arc. So if we're going to bring this club back on plane, the plane functions on an arc. An arc is a circular motion. A circular motion moves inside the ball. So the club should not be moving outside of the ball. And that's what we see here. So as we continue to move back here, hands and arms are still moving out. Got to get some wrist hinge into play here, working the club head above and behind the hands. So a little stiff-wristed there. Get a little bit of hinge there. Club head's now above and somewhat behind. Not as much as behind as what we saw with Jordan. Now we shallow it out a little bit, so nice recovery right there. Definitely shallowing it out a lot now. And basically by the time you get to the top of your backswing, you've created pretty good shoulder rotation here. Stable right side. You're maintaining your posture and your spinal axis. Arms are in good geometry relative to your core. Your club's in good position relative to your arms. Now your backswing is a bit abbreviated. We don't complete the backswing, and that's due to the fact that I don't think we, one, have turned our shoulders 100% of what we can, but you really don't have much more shoulder turn to go. I don't think you've moved your arms back as far as that you can let them travel. And then the big aspect is I don't think you've created full proper wrist hinge, because wrist hinge does two things in the golf swing. Wrist hinge creates club travel in the backswing, and it also stores power so we can release it through the golf ball in the downswing. So definitely learning how to create better wrist hinge coming back would be ideal. Now, as we go ahead and create our transition back into the ball, simply want to move our weight from our right foot to our left, fire our knees and our hips laterally to the target, unwind our core and fire our hands. And doing so, we got to make sure that we're bringing the golf club from the blue, yellow V zone, wherever we set it, back down onto red. And that's exactly what we see here with Jordan Spieth. The golf club is returning back to being on plane. Also at this stage of the golf swing, we want to take a look at the relationship between the lead form and the golf club. I refer to this as the backwards check mark. Simply means the club head right now is remaining above and behind his hands coming into the hitting zone. This is what's going to allow us to create a lot of power in our golf swing, aside from his ability to hit the ball straight due to the fact that the club has returned back to plane, which is a main criteria in producing straight golf shots. Let's go ahead and watch your transition back into the ball here. Hands drop really nicely. Good job right there. Hopefully they don't start moving out in front. Looks like you are pushing the club head out away from you. So at this point in time, let's go ahead and just observe the relationship between the lead form and the club. So we've got the backwards check mark. The club head's above and behind the hands. Creating some power in the golf swing won't be an issue. But I think you're throwing that club head out in front. So right now your club shaft's sitting on an angle of about 51 degrees. It should be on an angle more of about 41 degrees. And that club head should have returned closer to plane. So I'm just a little concerned that this club head is not going to return back to the red line as you continue to throw that club out in front of you. So let's go ahead and watch the next frame. Yeah, so there you are, you definitely throw it out in front. Let's go to the next frame now. It's definitely going to be outside the ball. If we just connect the dots, we'll have a pretty good visual sense as to what that descending plane, what it exactly looked like. And just the fact that because we threw the hands a little over the top, we're coming in the ball a little steep, therefore the club's going to attack the ball a little bit from out to in. Whereas we can see with Jordan Spieth, again, his golf club returned to plane here. That would have been your frame right about here or here, doesn't really matter, but neither one of those is on the red line. And then as he comes into the ball, he comes into the ball directly from on plane. And like I said already, this is what produces straight golf shots in accordance to our alignment. Lastly, assuming the club face squares up via having a good grip. Okay? So seeing that the downswing planes are somewhat different here, we can now take a look at the path of the club. We can see Jordan's club's inside the ball, expands out to make contact, moves through on a nice natural subtle arc. Your club is outside the ball, dropping down and across to make contact. So we can see right there, it drops down and across, and the club's moving from out to in. So very simply put, if we square the face up to that path, we'll hit the ball nice and solid. The problem is the ball's going in the direction of we're swinging, and that's going to be too far left. If the club face actually over-releases to the same path, not only do we pull the ball, but now we're going to hit some form of a pull draw or pull hook. If we leave the club face a little bit open to the path, that'll be nice. Then we can start the ball a little bit right of that, impart a little bit of left to right spin, hit a nice little fade. That shot will turn out. If we happen to leave the club face too open to the red path, incredibly, we'll start the ball even further right, even though we're swinging left. At that point in time, we know the club face is massively open, and we're going to hit some form of a block slice, and the ball's going to go way too far right on us. So because that golf club is attacking the ball from outside, striking the ball, moving to the inside, if we square the face, it follows red. Over-release the club, follows the smaller red arrows. Leave the face wide open, follows blue. Time it properly, follow yellow. Want to take a look at your right foot here through impact. It's still pretty much flat on the ground where Jordan's is off the ground. Watch the continued foot activity that he creates as he moves through. His heel comes fully up off the ground, up on the toe of his right foot. We can count the spikes in his shoe. That gets his weight to his left side. It also allows his hips to square around and face the target. Shoulders fully rotate, and the hands are high with the club back in behind them. Let's see what you do with your footwork on the way through. So you create a little bit of footwork there, allowing you to get through to a pretty decent finish. So that's pretty solid right there. I do want to bring you back down to impact, taking a look at your club face now, knowing that the club was moving on that out to in path. And let's just see what the club face did. So it looks like the club face stayed a little open. We can see the ball heading in that direction, but I got a feeling that ball is going to tail off to the right a little bit, and how much will be indicative of how much we left that club face open. And that's where consistency comes into play, right? There's three things we need. We have to aim well. Feet have to run parallel left of our target line. You're doing that. But then the club has to come down on plane. And what we see is your club is coming into the ball a little bit from over the top, a little too steep, from out to in, swinging across your body. At that point in time, you got to compensate with the club face. And based on what that club face does with the out to in path, will be determining what happens to that golf shot. Over release it, like I said, it's going too far left. Under release it, too far right. And if we time it properly, you will find your intended target. So overall, you got some really nice athletic qualities with your golf swing. I mean, your hands work well. They come back, they fire through. Your core works well. You coil, you uncoil. You got good enough footwork that allows you to carry yourself through to a good finish. Like I said from the get-go of the start of this analysis, let's change your posture a little. Let's get you a little taller. Let's slide your hands a little closer to you so we're not reaching so much. Backswing, when you draw the club back, let it go back inside and around you automatically. Backswing looks good. It is a bit abbreviated, so yeah, a little bit more turn, a little bit more arm travel. Definitely learn how to create a little bit more wrist hinge. Carry that backswing just back another, foot or so would be great. And then the ultimate goal is learning how to come into the ball from an on-plane position. That's really the ultimate goal, because it is the #1 criteria in producing, straight golf shots, consistency, and hitting the ball far. Okay? At that point in time, you can take a look at your grip, which looks good, looks like your club face is doing a decent job, but your subconscious brain is telling you leave the face open because you're swinging from out to in and you're swinging hard to the left. If you square the face, your mind knows that ball's going to go left on you, so you've got to compensate now. So if you had a better downswing plane, you wouldn't have to compensate. That would now match up with your alignment and your grip, and you would be much more consistent. Okay? Anyways, I hope you had a fantastic day, and I hope you enjoyed getting the opportunity to see your swing on video.